one under Paul Manieri, and you'll hear that answer, and he gave an answer. He did not dodge that question. He did not just give it a shrug. He gave us a good solid 2 to 3 minutes on what he thought at the end of the season and thought about the criticisms logged at him now as he took a losing season, takes a losing season into year number 2, but he's very confident in the transfer portal talent that he's bringing in, and he loves the talent that he's bringing back. And you'll also hear him talk about KJ Scobie and some of the pitchers that are returning.
Yep, it's going to be practically brand new roster for South Carolina. 2 of their signees are signing with pro teams, so that's a couple of freshmen coming off the list that won't be coming in. So there'll be a brand new roster. Bergie, also tonight, in fact, at 6:35, we'll head to Northern Ireland. MJ Ward will join us, begin our coverage of the Open. I'm going to try and be right and correct and professional here and not call it the British Open. It's the Open, as they like to call it, the 153rd edition of the original big golf tournament. So we'll have MJ there at Portrush in Northern Ireland, and looking forward to that. But while we're talking baseball for just a moment, Chris Lowe of ESPN walking by. The big boys are here. While we are talking baseball, loved the All-Star game. Loved the All-Star game last night. Obviously, it was a terrific 9 innings, and then they shocked everybody with how they broke the tie. And Smitty, chime in as well, you big baseball guy here. And you know, I'm not a guy who likes messing with tradition, and not a guy that likes a lot of bells and whistles on events and things like that. I got to tell you, I liked it. I liked the swing off to break the tie last night. I thought there was strategy. I thought it was dramatic. I thought the 2 dugouts were into it 100%. I think the fans enjoyed it. And I wonder, if Major League Baseball is going to look at that and say, and I would go for this, let's do away with the ghost runner when we go to the 10th inning. Let's play 2 innings more of baseball when there's extra innings. But if we go through 11 innings and we haven't broken the tie, let's go to the swing off. Bergie.
No. I loved it last night, the All-Star game. I agree with you. I thought it was really well done, and I thought the entire presentation by Major League Baseball was tremendous last night, especially the Hank Aaron tribute. I don't know that they could have done that any better, especially in Atlanta, so I thought they did a tremendous job with that, and I love it because exhibition games you don't want to watch for another hour or so. That's the perfect way to end the game. Mm-hmm. I'm not so sure, though, I want to see a game in late September decided, especially with the playoff berth on the line. I'm not sure I want to see it decided by a swing-off. Mm-hmm. So I will agree in the All-Star game, not so much during the regular season.
What do you think, Smitty?
All I will say is only a Yankee fan would want to see a home run derby in that toy ballpark with the house that Ruth built, but now this is the house that Judge built, the new Yankee Stadium. Only somebody that would have paid A-Rod and Aaron Judge and worships at the altar of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig would want to do a home run derby to decide a baseball game.
Well, 7.2 million viewers, largest TV audience since 2017, reflecting an increase in the regular season ratings in the first half of the Major League Baseball season. So I don't know, guys. People watch it. People like it. Speaking of television, another big story today, we'll touch on this briefly, not going to dwell on it, but this was a big story nationally. The news came out, Front Office Sports was the organization that broke the news, but Barstool Sports, according to this report, nothing is set in stone yet, but the organization Barstool Sports and their leader, Dave Portnoy, they're negotiating with Fox Sports, FX1, to incorporate Barstool Sports and some of their personalities into daily programming on FX1, and Portnoy would be a participant in the Saturday pregame show, the big noon kickoff, I think is what they call it. So, Bergie, thoughts on this? Here comes another situation where you got people involved who believe that they're bigger than the actual event that they're there to cover. I think when you have people like Portnoy. You have people. You have people like what's his name from ESPN.
Pat McAfee.
Yeah, I mean they kind of think that they're bigger than the event that they're actually there to cover. I know that they're hired to attract viewers and increase the ratings. Not my style, not what I enjoy, and I don't tune in because of it, and will continue to avoid it. But sounds like this is what FX is trying to do to try to counter what ESPN is doing with their programming.
Yeah, exactly. I guess it's a scenario, if you can't beat them, join them. And so that's the route they're going. I don't watch any of these shows. I'm like you, Phil, so it doesn't bother me one way or the other. You enjoy Pat McAfee, go have your fun. He's not my cup of tea, and I've always been sort of a broadcaster who looks at the game as much more important than me, and that's the way I always treat it. But, yeah, I think that's probably where Barstool Sports is going. Heck, I don't know why Fox Sports needs to do this. They've got right now, and the folks where you are not going to like me saying this, but they've got right now the best football league in the country. Kind of hard to argue with back-to-back national championships. I mean, I don't know why they need to spruce up anything they're doing around Big Ten football. Just let it speak for itself.
What do you think, Smitty? All right, we'll get back to Smitty in just a moment. Want to get his thoughts on that as well.
I was going to say, I agree with you guys. I'm not a fan of what Dave Portnoy does, first of all, but I was actually speaking to another journalist about what has happened to our particular industry the other day, and this is a symptom. This is symptomatic of what the situation is, and we've seen other sports try things. NASCAR wanted to reach out and get extra, different demographics. Baseball wants to speed things up, so let's get a little bit more gimmicky. But sometimes when you do that, the assumption that the hardcore fan base will stay in place while you reach out for others, you want to get Dave Portnoy, but then you want to keep all the Ohio State and Michigan fans. Watch out, mainstream media. Be very, very careful. You might find yourself in the position NASCAR has found itself in, which is trying to go back and get the hardcore fan base back that you lost, that you alienate by bringing gimmicks into your sports and to your coverage.
One more thing on the All-Star game last night. Speaking of the gimmicks, here I go again, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It was kind of cool listening to Clayton Kershaw pitch by pitch with John Smoltz discussing what pitch he was going to throw next, and then, executing that pitch, burying a couple of them into the dirt, but getting a strikeout. But, I mean, that was pretty cool. Now, we fans, watching at home, sitting in the stands, we don't hear that kind of communication. We don't hear that kind of conversation. We don't know the thinking process that's going on the mound, Bergie. I thought that was kind of neat. Let's do that in the World Series.
All right. Miking those guys up during the game, I don't mind. Again, I'm going to go back to I don't mind it in the All-Star game. I'm not so sure I want to see it in Game 4 of the World Series because they need to be focused on what's going on. I will say this, though, about John Smoltz. I think as good a pitcher as he was, he may actually be a better analyst. He is tremendous in the booth, and to hear he and Clayton Kershaw going back and forth, that's good stuff because you're talking about two of the greatest pitchers that have ever graced the mound, talking about how they do things. But I'm sort of a traditionalist here in this regard. Like, you want to gimmick up the All-Star game, and the one negative back to the swing off is the fact that Aaron Judge and also Shohei Ohtani had already left the building and they weren't involved last night. That would have been fun. But let's save all this for the All-Star game, not necessarily for the regular season.
Didn't realize they had left the building. I thought I saw a couple of big guys walking through downtown Atlanta last night. The Yankees are still here because they have a weekend series against the Braves opening up on Friday. Before the break, Smitty, tell us about what's going on with the Coaches for Charity. You mentioned Paul Maneri. He's kind of the outlier there. Good friend of Fisher DeBerry, so he was called up to represent South Carolina. Jake McCoy there with him as well, but you got Dabo Sweeney there, Cade Klubnik, and others.
Absolutely, and Paul Maneri brought Jake McCoy here representing Purple Heart Homes, and Jake McCoy, one of the 6 pitchers that's going to return for Paul Maneri and that Gamecock staff. I actually got the chance to talk to Fisher DeBerry for a few minutes as well about his friendship with Paul Maneri, and he shared a couple of really good stories about how he embraced Paul Maneri when he took the job with Air Force. And you'll hear it from Paul Maneri himself later that he was the first baseball coach in Air Force history that was a civilian. So you could see that why Fisher DeBerry felt the need to go out and make him one of theirs. And as you said, Dabo Swinney already drawing a big gaggle around him. Cade Klubnik certainly going to be popular here. I haven't seen Cade, but I assume he's in there surrounded by people, one of the front runners for the Heisman Trophy. And then you've got Maurice Drayton is here, Chennis Berry is here, Sean Watson from Wofford, and Clay Hendricks from Furman as well. So some high-character guys speaking on behalf of charities, and as always, a great spread here. I'll go over some of the memorabilia that's up for the silent auction. I put your name on a couple of, Phil. I knew that you would want that Brett Favre signed photo. It's Brett Favre with just a towel wrapped around him, and he signed it.
I like that. I like that. Yeah. That's me and what's her name,
but
Jill.
There's a lot of great stuff. Trevor Lawrence signed helmets. Debo Samuel signed helmets. Signed photos of Spencer Rattler, Steve Spurrier. A lot of great stuff here.
Yeah, I think what was her name? The reporter up there. Only she and myself have gotten particular photos from Brett Favre over the years. So we're in a very special category. All right, let's run to the break. And we'll come back, continue to talk about some of the big stories. Kamari Blair is announcing around 7 o'clock, so you know what we'll do. We'll do our best to bring that to you. If we can find the stream, assuming there is a stream. If not, we'll bring you the information. South Carolina, Tennessee, Ohio State for that big offensive tackle. We'll be back in a moment.
There's a lot of things we take for granted in our lives. Your home's AC will run cool. Your drive-through coffee will be hot. And the car will start when it's time to take your kids to school. It's when things don't go as planned that you start thinking about who to call and where to turn. The good thing is, you can prepare for life's most difficult days by calling the Larry Lucas Agency today. Larry is a State Farm agent that has been taking care of people across South Carolina for more than 2 decades. You probably have insurance, but switching is easy, and bundling can save you hundreds or more. Most importantly, the Larry Lucas Agency can help you choose the protection you want at the price you want. All backed by South Carolina's #1 home and auto insurance company. Visit LarryLucasAgency.com today or give Larry a call at 803-799-1998. Like a good neighbor, Larry Lucas State Farm is there.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
You've put in the work for your education. The extra early, extra late, extra work. That's because you understand education opens doors to better pay, better opportunities, and a better you. Being educated about playing the lottery is no different. It helps you be a better player, one who knows when to play and when to take a rain check. The lottery's a game, so let's keep it fun. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Hi, Phil Kornblut here with our good friend George Bryan III, heard every Friday night on Birdies, Bogeys, and Biceps right here on Sports Talk. George, the Tsunami Bar, a very valuable tool for golfers. Why is that?
Well, the first thing that I say is the tempo. It's the only tool out there that allows the study of tension right from the first grab to be expressed, and rhythm and tempo is what makes the bar work, and it gives you something awfully special to keep those hands soft and get that rhythm going.
Learn more about Tsunami Bar technology by clicking on the digital ad on our website, SportsTalkSC.com, and save 5% by purchasing online using the promo code BBB5. All right, Sports Talk, big Wednesday night edition. Glad you're with us. And we have Smitty with us up in Greenville, Bergie from the Bergie Palace, the plumber back at the studios in Columbia. I'm still here in Atlanta. I think this is the last of the big events still standing here. Let's see, this week we've had Beyonce come through? Beyonce. She was here for a couple of nights. In fact, I read where there was not a riot, but at the nearby MARTA station over in what's called Vine City. after the concert on Monday night, I think, they had like a, shall we say, an overcrowding situation in there.
I bet.
And it got out of control from what I read in the news around here. So glad I was well away from that. We had WWE here in town. We had the All-Star game in town. And now we still have SEC Media Days for one more day. Okay, couple of things to mention that are also important besides what we talked about a moment ago. A couple of stories here related to, of course, college athletics. UCLA wide receiver Caden Robinson has filed a lawsuit in California against the NCAA in his push to play this season. The lawsuit states he was offered an NIL contract by UCLA worth $450,000. His NCAA waiver was denied in March. This is from Pete Nakos from On3. So apparently he's arguing that you're preventing me from making money, and I need my waiver, and I need my another year. He is a former Appalachian State transfer, and his waiver to play this year was denied back in March. So they've sued, just like Faison has sued, or will sue, I think. He's still waiting for the NCAA to turn him down before they sue. But he does have a lawyer waiting in the wings.
Okay, because I had heard another report that he is not going to sue, and if he does not get the waiver, he's just going to go straight and try and get on an NFL roster as a free agent. And I thought I recognized that name, Caden Robinson, from Appalachian State. He was an outstanding wide receiver there. I did not realize he had transferred to UCLA, though.
Yeah. I mean, you can't keep up with where everybody is. The Big Ten, Brett McMurphy, who was sitting about, I think that was Brett McMurphy, sitting about 4 seats down from me. Anyway, the Big Ten will not back off its preferred CFP format for 26, which guaranteeing the league 4 automatic qualifiers. That is unless the SEC decides to add a 9th league game. He cites sources on this who said there's no way Tony Petitti moves off of 4 automatic qualifiers, according to the source, meaning the 12-team playoff likely will return in 2026. So as the Big Ten, the SEC, and the other leagues sort of have their own opinions about this, it could kill the idea of expanding the playoffs for the time being. But again, this is just the inherent, never-ending issue with college athletics. Again, imagine in the NFL, the NFC East saying, deciding we're going to have a playoff to determine our team that's going to go into the playoffs. We're going to have our own playoffs to decide it a certain way, and the AFC West doing something different. They've got to somehow come together as a league, as a all around the country. These big schools, they've got to think about themselves as one family, not 5 or 6 distinct different families with their own thoughts and their own way of doing things. But they can't reach a consensus. They cannot get to an agreement. I don't know that they ever will. OVC Big South preseason poll, 9 teams. Charleston Southern was picked 9th. Tennessee Tech was picked number 1, followed by UT Martin and Southeast Missouri. John Rothstein, his thoughts on the South Carolina basketball team for this coming season. In his preseason power ranking, out of 16 SEC teams, he projects the Gamecocks as number 16. So Lamont Parrish will be happy to hear that. Because the last time they were picked kind of down towards the bottom, they went to the NCAA tournament. So, okay, we're going to go to Northern Ireland, we hope, after the break. Be back in a moment.
that the event has been played outside of Scotland and England, and obviously the 2019 event was so successful that the RNA opted to come back here 6 years later, which is really pretty quick in terms of major championship play. And I'm excited. To me, the Open Championship is the heart and soul of golf. It's the roots of the game. It's really going to test the mental and physical side of any player. The weather will be always a factor here. They're looking for changeable skies. There will be wind blowing. It's a test. You find a lot about yourself when you play in Open Championship play. And I think it's just great to be here, and I'm really looking forward to the start of the event coming up real soon.
One piece of video that I saw was some folks testing out the speed of the greens and pointing out that they were rolling at an 11 at the U.S. Open. They were rolling at an 11 at the U.S. Open, and they were rolling at a 14 there. I think I got my numbers right. No, I got.
No, you mean it the you mean
reverse
you mean
that.
the reverse?
A 14 at the Open and 11 there. So is that indicative? Does that mean the greens are going to be a little bit slower there compared to what they were at the Open?
Well, it is only because given the wind conditions that can happen in links golf, and without going too deep into the deep weeds. When you have a golf course that's exposed to the kind of wind patterns that are available, if you had the kind of slopes that you see in the States, the ball would probably not stay in place. And that has happened. I mean, there have been delays in play when the wind has blown so hard that the ball is oscillating on the greens. The thing about Open Championship play, Phil, is that it's about shot making. It's not just going to be a putting contest to see who can putt well. Will the greens be slower than they would be at, say, Oakmont or Augusta National or Oakland Hills or places that are renowned? Yeah, it will not be as fast. But the key really is about getting the ball in the right spot. And if you leave the fairways here by any margin, you're going to find some serious pain on the scorecard. The least of your worries will be the greens, I can tell you that.
So, I mean, when we think British Open, we think so much about link courses. Is this a link course, or is it something different?
No, this is really, the best way I can explain the reemergence of Royal Portrush in 2019 is somewhat similar to the reemergence of Shinnecock Hills when it came back into the U.S. Open fold in 1986. I mean, Portrush has always been acclaimed as one of the top 20, top 25 golf courses, maybe even higher in the world. But the Open Championship returning in 2019 was really the rebirth of the golf course and its real stature. It has been improved by the involvement of Martin Ebert, who is an architect who was called in. There are 2 new holes that were put in play in order to accommodate with, major championship sites, Phil. You have to have a big footprint, and they really were able to accommodate that when they made the changes. But this is a true links golf course, and there's a famous expression, I don't know if you've heard it, but the famous expression in Scotland is the game only begins when the ball touches the ground. So, you have to know how to marry trajectory and know how to play positioning on just about all your shots. These fairways are alleyway fairways. If you can hit them, you'll gain an advantage. If you miss them, or if you happen to find one of the 59 bunkers, these are not your get-out-of-jail-card-free bunkers. You might go in, and to borrow that expression, you may not come out in the single shot that you anticipated. So, you're really going to have to be able to test your patience, because you're going to catch weather and you're going to catch certain situations where you're tempted to play a higher risk shot than the circumstances would call for, and that's where you can get into trouble. A guy told me this a long time ago about links golf. He said, Matt, it's okay to make a bad shot. That happens. Just don't follow a bad shot with a dumb shot in links golf. That's where the scores add up.
So before we let you go here, teeing off as they call it, Game 1. I love the way they identify things at the Open. Game 1, Game 2, Game 3. They're not groups. They're not pairings. They're Game 1, Game 2, Game 3. So Game 1 goes off at 6:35 a.m. local time, and the final game will go off, and that's Game 52 at 4:16 p.m. Will there be a major difference in conditions between the morning wave and the afternoon wave?
Oh, that happens all the time, Phil. I mean, it's you could start a round with the sun out and maybe a gentle breeze blowing, and then all of a sudden, you're dealing with pelting rain coming down and the wind blowing in a variety of ways and velocities, and the reverse can happen. God, it's amazing that Mother Nature and what the good Lord provides, things can change rapidly depending upon, where you are. And some of it is going to be truly the luck of the draw. I mean, if you happen to catch the better weather pattern, you could be fortunate to avoid situations like this. And not to go back in history too long, but when Tiger won the first two legs of the Grand Slam in '02, he played at Muirfield. And literally, he had one of his highest scores ever, and the rain and the wind just basically ended his hopes for a Grand Slam. So everything is dependent, Phil, a lot of times on, when you tee off. At the Open Championship, everybody goes off the first tee. There is no first and 10th tee split. So therefore, you're going to have an early start, and then you're going to have guys that tee off, way late in the afternoon. I'm going to be curious to see how Rory does. He's in the late afternoon time frames. Scotty is in the morning wave situation. It'll all depend. Obviously, they'll flip it around for the second round. But, yeah, weather is always a factor in the Open Championship. And when you're dealing with a links course, you're going to have to be able to make those adjustments, because holes that played easy on a certain wind pattern can easily become treacherous when the weather turns or the wind turns in a different direction. You really have to know your limitations when you play links golf. If you push things too hard, too fast, you can easily put some high numbers on the board. And at that point, Phil, I'll be honest with you, I don't see people making comebacks at this year's tournament. I think you have to be someplace near the lead as they get towards the end of the final round. I don't see those kind of comebacks because I don't see that many birdie opportunities that are out there, especially if the wind pattern is as fluctuating as they anticipate it to be.
MJ, we're looking forward to hearing from you each of the next two nights. MJ Ward, of course, besides working for us, he works for many other people, primarily Golf Today out of the UK. So you want to read some of MJ's work from right there on the scene, go to golftoday.co.uk, golftoday.co.uk. Thank you, MJ. We'll talk to you tomorrow night, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Get ready for a summer of adventure with Founders Federal Credit Union. Now through July 31st, you can take advantage of a special 6.99% APR on select purchases made with your Founders credit card. Whether you're planning a road trip across the state, a relaxing beach getaway, or finally checking off that bucket list destination, we're here to help you make it happen. With this promotional APR, you can enjoy your summer without the stress of high interest rates. Pack your bags, gather your loved ones, and get moving to the vacation you've been dreaming of. Founders makes it easy to enjoy more. So go ahead, kick back, relax, and soak up every sun-soaked moment of your well-deserved summer break without breaking your budget. Learn more and see the list of qualifying purchases at foundersfcu.com/cc. Let Founders help you take the trip of a lifetime. Promotional rate ends February 1st, 2026. Effective APR of 13.25% to 17.90% will apply. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required.
Lottery ticket makes a big difference for our state students. And when I say big, I mean bigger than jackpot big. Since 2002, South Carolina students have benefited from more than $6 billion in lottery-funded scholarships and grants, including the Life, Hope, and Palmetto Fellow Scholarships. With every lottery play, you're supporting our students, and that adds up in a big way. That's why education is our middle name. Learn more at sceducationlottery.com/betteryou.
Heading down south to the land of the pines
Busy night here on Sports Talk. Let's go back up to Greenville, where Smitty is at the Coaches for Charity event up there. Great event, raising money for some charity supported by these various coaches. One of those coaches is USC baseball coach Paul Maneri. Smitty, you had a chance to catch up with him today.
I did, and of course this on the heels of him holding a press conference, but we got the opportunity to have an exclusive interview, sit down with Coach Maneri one-on-one. And you'll hear in this interview he talks about the effect of the transfer portal, how that's an additional challenge, but why he really likes this class coming in, why Talmadge LaCroix brought tears to his eyes, the potential for KJ Scobie to move to shortstop. But we started with the coaching fraternity, especially at the military academies, why Paul Maneri and Fisher DeBerry are so close. We start there.
Well, that period of time was one of the most special times of my life, Matt. I was invited to become the first civilian baseball coach at the United States Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. Up until then, the baseball coach had always been an active duty officer that was on a temporary duty assignment. So I was 30 years old. I had been the coach at a small school in Miami, Florida, where I had grown up. And we played the Air Force Academy, and they explained to me that they were civilianizing the position. So I gave them my resume, and lo and behold, I get the job. And one of the first people I met out there was Fisher DeBerry, and Fisher was already a legendary college football coach. And for whatever reason, Fisher took a liking to me, and I spent a lot of time individually and privately with him in his office or at his home, and we became just great friends, despite there being somewhat of an age difference. And even to this day now, how many years later, we're talking 37 years later, we're still great friends. And when I was named the coach last summer at South Carolina, of course Fisher is from South Carolina, he was beside himself. I mean, he started calling me and texting me and everything else. I got this event, you got to come to this event. So, of course, I went last summer, and of course I'm here again this year. And this year I brought one of my players, Jake McCoy, who is very active in charity work. He's working with the Purple Hearts Homes, where they build homes for veterans that have been injured in war. And I'm just so proud of Jake, and his whole family's here, and hopefully we can bring some notoriety to what his passion is, which is helping these veterans.
Well, Coach, let's talk a little baseball, and then we'll get back to the South Carolina Coaches for Charity. But, Coach, it's a different world now with the transfer portal, and, of course, you mentioned today in your press conference you have the 5th-ranked transfer portal class. You lost a lot of players, but you picked up a lot of players. So what's the challenge been like just with roster construction and the way you've had to go through this?
Matt, it's really something I have never experienced before in my coaching career. But in a lot of ways it was fun. It was a hard work. It was a hard summer. Our whole coaching staff was absolutely putting in the greatest effort. I'm really proud of Terry Rooney and Monty Lee, John Hendry, and Chris Gordon, our director of player development. We've scoured the country. We've found kids that we think are going to be great fits for our program, for the University of South Carolina, that are very grateful for the opportunity to be here. And I think we're going to put together a really great team. But of course the team, the returning players are going to set the foundation for the team, like Jake McCoy, who's here tonight, Talmadge LaCroix, KJ Scobie, Bo Hollins, Parker Marlott, and Brandon Stone, all those kind of guys. They're going to set the foundation for the team, but we're going to have a lot of new players. And it's going to be a lot of fun and exciting. I don't have any doubt that we're going to have a much better team next year.
You mentioned KJ Scobie. You and I share mutual admiration for his defense. I picked that out early last year, and I know you did right away. And it's just fun to have a guy like that. He's been playing a lot of shortstop in summer ball. Is that how you project him for your club next year?
Well, Matt, I'm glad you're a good judge of talent as well. It took me about 2 minutes the first day of practice to realize this kid had some exceptional defensive abilities. We had recruited a shortstop by the name of Henry Kazmar, and then plus we had Will Tippett last year. So we were pretty well okay. We were okay at shortstop. I didn't really know that KJ was a shortstop in high school because I didn't recruit him. I just didn't meet him really until he showed up to campus because he was recruited by the previous staff. But he was so outstanding at third base all year, and then we talked at the end of the year individual meeting, he and I and we talked about him moving over to shortstop, and he was really excited about the idea. So he's been playing some games with the Lafayette Blowfish, and then my good friend who runs the USA Collegiate National Team had an opening for a shortstop, and so he called me and wanted to see if he could get KJ over there, because I had been wearing him out about getting KJ over there in the first place. And KJ went over there, and he was, for probably the first 3 games over there, was the best player on the field. He was making plays all over the field. So, my plan is to give him a really good shot to be our shortstop. I won't commit to anything right now because it wouldn't be fair to the other players that are coming in and competing for the job. But I don't have any doubt KJ Scobie can play great shortstop. I told him what you need to root for is that somebody can play third base as good as you play it, so that I don't have to move you back to third base.
Yeah. Coach, not the year you wanted probably to start, but you can go through that in the first year. And you took some criticism in the offseason, directly after the offseason. There was an article published taking some shots about the way you handled things and the program went in your first year. What was your reaction to that?
I really don't have a reaction to it, Matt. I don't put much credence in it. When you're down, people take shots at you. Hey, listen, my first year at LSU was very similar to this first year at South Carolina. I think we went 29-26 and 12-17 in the conference play or something like that. And certain members of the media, I guess is what you would call it. I'm not sure the person that wrote that article would be considered a person in the media. But anyway, listen, I'm not going to defend myself. I've been doing this for 40 years. I have a lot of players that think fondly of the way that I coach them and the things we've done through the years, and I know we're going to have a good team this year. And tough times don't last, but tough people do. And I'm just going to kind of grit my teeth and get through it. And my total focus is on this next year. My total focus is on working with these young people that are representing the University of South Carolina, that are representing this wonderful state. And I wanted to have a team that the fans and everybody can be proud of. So nobody wants to win more than I do. And we're going to win this year. There's no doubt in my mind about it. And, the way this past year kind of ended up will be an ancient memory, and people that wrote nasty articles or whatever, they had their time to do that. In the future, we'll have a great program, and I'm sure they'll jump on the bandwagon and write nice things. So I just don't worry about it. I tell my players the same advice that I got many, many years ago from my father, and that was the person you have to answer to is the person you look at in the mirror every morning when you're brushing your teeth. You look at yourself, and if you're proud of what you've done and you worked hard and you did the best you could, then you can't worry about what other people say about you. And I've lived my life that way forever. Now, I understand that fans want to see a good product out there because they're supporting the school, they love their school and whatever, and I want to provide that for them. And we will provide it this next spring. We're going to have an outstanding team. I don't have any doubt about that. But, I inherited a team, and I'm not going to say, this kid wasn't good enough or that kid wasn't good enough, but, you don't have time to put it together the way you want to put it together. And so you just kind of fight through the year. You do the best you can with the guys that you have and try to be a good mentor for them. Some kids aren't going to take it the right way because they're not being successful or they're not getting what they want, and some of them are going to be more vocal about it than others. And that's just the way it is. But I feel good about where we're going in the future, and I'm going to focus totally on the really great kids that appreciate that somebody is there that cares about them.
Coach, let me ask you about that. Paul Manieri speaking with us here on Sports Talk ahead of the South Carolina Coaches for Charity, but Talmadge LaCroix came back, and I think that surprised some people. Tell me about that story, him getting drafted but deciding to come back.
Well, I don't know why people would be surprised about that. He got a medical red shirt. Talmadge and I have a great relationship. KJ Scobie, Bo Hollins, Parker Marlott, Jake McCoy. I mean, I go right down the list. Everybody wants to place emphasis on the ones that were malcontents. What about the kids that love what we're doing and see the vision and share the vision that I have for the program? Well, Talmadge LaCroix is one of those. And let me tell you something about Talmadge. Of all the players I've ever coached, I could put him in a small group of kids that are baseball rats, Alex Bregman was like that. They just couldn't get enough about baseball. They were students of the game. They loved the game. Talmadge LaCroix is like that. And, the fact that he wanted to come back for his 5th year, the fact that he wants to be a leader, the fact that he loves the University of South Carolina, the fact that he loves the baseball program here, when he had an opportunity to sign professionally as a money saver, so to speak, in the draft, he thought about it briefly. Any kid would, that's dreams of playing professional baseball. But he also realizes that if he can come back and lead this team back to the promised land, help us get South Carolina back on track the way we're supposed to be, and he has a good year, then that'll take care of itself next year. So his legacy will be that he's going to be the leader of a team that got South Carolina back on track, and then he's going to go get a chance to play professional baseball. So when he told me that, it brought a tear to my eye, because how often do you see kids that are that loyal and that passionate about the school that they're representing or the state that they're representing? Talmadge LaCroix should be a hero to all the people that love South Carolina and South Carolina baseball.
All right, great interview, Smitty. That's some really good stuff from Paul Maneri.
Yes,
and great questions on your end. And I agree with the coach. I mean, I said it after the season, especially when Scobie and Hollins decided to come back, and then and now LaCroix, of course, deciding to come back, and a couple of the pitchers like McCoy, and then everything they've done in the offseason. There's no way. I think I guaranteed it back then. I'll double down on it. There's no way this team, barring injury now, they got to stay healthy. They can't go through a rash of injuries like they did this past season. But if all things being equal and they stay healthy, I think this team makes the NCAA tournament next year. Will they be good enough to host? Will they have that kind of year? But I certainly think they're going to make the NCAA tournament next year. What'd you take away from it, Smitty?
Yeah, and I think Paul Maneri shares that opinion. He really likes this class coming in. To me, what is so surprising is I would tell anyone that listened when he took the job, this is a championship-level coach. Baseball hasn't changed. NIL has changed. The roster construction has changed through the transfer portal. But baseball remains the same, and this man knows that game. I was shocked at some of what was written in the Big Spur article that was criticizing the way this program was being built and enhanced in year one. And Paul Maneri seemed to be of the opinion that everything is going according to plan. So something doesn't connect here, and I think we're only going to get our answer when we see W's and L's next year with this team.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. Vice President J.D. Vance on Wednesday made the Trump administration's first big pitch to sell the public on President Trump's sweeping budget and policy package in the swing political turf of northeastern Pennsylvania. Vance says the bill lets workers earn tax-free overtime.
Thanks to President Trump's leadership, if you work overtime, the federal government is not going to take a dime of that overtime. You earn that money, you ought to keep it in your pocket.
The vice president, whose tie-breaking vote got the bill through the Senate, touted the legislation's tax breaks and cast Democrats as opponents of cutting taxes because of their unanimous opposition to the legislation. Despite President Trump's 50-day ultimatum for Russia to end its war in Ukraine, new Russian drone strikes hit a city in central Ukraine, leaving at least 15 people injured.
Vinnytsia is one of 4 Ukrainian cities pounded Tuesday into Wednesday morning. 400 Shahed and decoy drones launched, as well as 1 ballistic missile, the Ukrainian Air Force says. At least 15 people have been injured in the strikes in all that mostly targeted energy infrastructure. The latest bombardment in Russia's escalating aerial campaign comes ahead of a September 2 deadline set by President Donald Trump for the Kremlin to reach a peace deal in the 3-year war under the threat of possible severe Washington sanctions if it doesn't. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
President Trump says he's highly unlikely to fire Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. His public statement Wednesday came less than 24 hours after suggesting in a private meeting that he was leaning in favor of dismissing Powell. On Wall Street, the Dow up by 231 points, the Nasdaq rose 52. More at townhall.com.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
My back got injured very bad. I was off work for about a year. I heard about Relief Factor from my wife. I took it every day, 3 times a day for 3 weeks. Look at her and I said, the pain is gone. And she said, I'm glad it helped. I said, no, you don't understand. It's gone.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to relieffactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
Progressive knows not all rides are smooth. Meet Sarah. She loves her motorcycle. What she doesn't love is when it suddenly rains. As she sits underneath a bridge waiting for it to stop, she grows quite fond of the graffiti on the overpass. She really likes the one with John Hart's Claire and wonders if they're still together. Not every ride is smooth, but Progressive has your back. Get an online quote in as little as 3 minutes and see if you can save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
Less than half of voters believe the government is doing enough to stop illegal immigrants from getting taxpayer-funded benefits. More details from correspondent Bernie Bennett.
The latest Rasmussen Report's national telephone and online survey finds that 72% of likely U.S. voters believe it's important to prevent illegal immigrants from getting government benefits like Medicaid and food stamps, including 48% who consider it very important. Only 25% don't think it's important to keep illegal immigrants from getting benefits. The survey of 1,014 U.S. likely voters was conducted on July 6 and 7, 2025 by Rasmussen Reports. The margin of sampling error is plus or minus 3 percentage points with a 95% level of confidence. Bernie Bennett reporting.
A federal judge in Tennessee is not expected to immediately rule on whether to release Kilmar Abrego Garcia from jail as he awaits trial on human smuggling charges. News and analysis at townhall.com. From Washington, I'm Keith Peters.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are warm and muggy this evening, a low temperature tipping down to 76. Tomorrow warmer, 94 the high to go with partly cloudy skies, a 20% chance we get afternoon storms. Looking to the weekend, not bad at all. Hot with 96 the high on Saturday and Sunday and a blend of sunshine and clouds to enjoy. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. This is The Point. Make thepointradio.com.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil and Chris with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Kamari Blair, just a moment ago. We were hoping to take it live. We did find a stream. We were hoping to take it live, but he beat us to the punch. Just a moment ago, he made his commitment announcement. Was it South Carolina? Was it Tennessee? Was it Ole Miss? Those were his 3 finalists. This is the tackle out of Clarksville, Tennessee. Let's take a listen to what he announced.
With all that being said, for the next 3 to 4 years, I'll be taking my talents to the University of South Carolina.
All right, there you go. That makes it official for him at South Carolina. The Gamecocks break an 8-target losing streak. They'd gone 8 consecutive announcements on targets who went somewhere else. They break that streak. They might have a 3-target yes streak by the end of the week, because tomorrow, Samorian Wingo, wide receiver, he's announcing, could be South Carolina. And then on Friday, it's Landon Duckworth, the quarterback, and by all indications, that will be South Carolina. So had a bit of a rough run for the Gamecocks since their previous commitment on June 27th. Here it is, July 16th. They're back on the winning side. 6'6", 280, Kamari Blair out of Clarksville, Tennessee. had a short list of South Carolina, Florida State, Ole Miss, Kentucky, Wisconsin, and Tennessee. And South Carolina got on him very strongly earlier in the year with an offer. He visited in April for a spring practice, took his official visit the weekend of June the 6th. And after that official visit, they were in really pretty strong shape with him. They just had to fend off his other two officials, which were to Ole Miss and Tennessee after that. He also took one to Wisconsin first part of June. So South Carolina picks up a good-looking offensive tackle out of Clarksville, Kirkwood High School, 6'6", 280, Kamari Blair. He's the third offensive tackle, offensive lineman to commit, and the 11th commitment overall for the Gamecocks. Okay, and squeeze in a little bit more in recruiting coming up a little bit later on. Speaking of the Gamecocks, one of their big defensive linemen was here earlier this week, Nick Barrett, to visit with the media here at SEC Media Days. He's going to get his chance to shine. There's going to be ample opportunity for him to play in the middle of that Gamecock defensive line because they lost practically everybody who took most of the snaps last season. And so when he visited with the media on Monday morning, he was asked about having this opportunity to step in and be a starter and be a leader, and how is he handling that here in the spring and the summer now heading into camp? How is he handling being in that position?
Just being more vocal, having a voice. I've been here my whole time. So really I know the playbook, just setting the standard, letting guys know how we do things here at Carolina. I've seen a lot of guys come through here, a lot of D linemen, a lot of good defensive players in general, Jalen Foster, Zach Pickens, TJ Sanders, Tonka Hemingway, guys like that. So I just...
You redshirted last year, correct?
Yeah.
What went into the decision to redshirt at that point in your college career?
I was battling injuries last year, so by the time I got to the fourth game, talked it over, went and got surgery, bring me back next year. Bring me back for this year.
And how do you feel coming into this year with that, time off recovery?
I feel confident, ready to get out there, make some plays.
What does it mean for you to be here? What does it mean that Coach Beamer selected you to come to this event?
It's an honor, something as big as SC Media Day, it shows what he thinks of me as a leader. So I appreciate him for that.
When you think about all the time that you had to recover from your injury, what can you learn from just observing and watching in that time off to get you ready for this season?
Shoot, I just watch what guys do. I just watch, from just from the sideline. I saw how we would finish games, how we would put it all together, and how we would work as a team, how we dealt with adversity, and how we climbed back to come out and finish games. So we had some tough games we had to finish.
Nick, in a lot of ways, last year was historic. With the stats you guys produced as a defense, and then with the production that left via the draft. How motivated do you sense this team is to duplicate what happened last year as you as a cornerstone?
I wouldn't say duplicate. Every team is a different team, so. And we definitely have that hunger because, we got a chip on our shoulder. Everybody thinks that, since we lost great players, that we're not going to be a dominant defense. So we definitely got a chip on our shoulder, and we're working towards that.
Who are some of the names that are going to fill some of those gaps from the, I think, 5 guys taken in the first 4 rounds? Who are some guys that are going to step into bigger role, yourself included?
Dylan Stewart, obviously, JT Gear, Jalen Kilgore, DQ. Really the whole secondary. The whole secondary is great. And, we brought in a lot of athletic linebackers, with Sean Murphy, Fred Johnson, he's coming back. So, yeah.
What have you seen from Dylan coming into his second year?
Dominance.
What makes him so good?
He's just a ball player. He's just a playmaker. It's just God-given talent. It's nothing you could do about it.
How's it been with all those new guys in your room at your position group, getting to know all them and play with them and that type of stuff?
It's been great, man. I've been building a great bond with those guys. At first it's we didn't really talk to each other, and then now you can't get us to shut up. So it's it's great. I've been bringing them along. Showing them what what it's like to be a SEC D tackle. So yeah.
Is there anyone you model your game after?
I wouldn't say model my game after, but I try to watch film on guys like Javon Hargrave, Liam McNeil, and Dexter Lawrence. I know it's a Clemson guy, but Good player.
What do you want to take from them, or what do you think they do best?
Just like their run stopping ability, and like I look at the body types too. Try to get like a similar body type to mine, see like the pass rush moves and how they operate.
Nick, I know you said you didn't want to duplicate anything from last year, but being around what was so special last year, what were the traits that went into that season ahead? How do you bring that over to this year?
First off, we had depth, had a lot of great depth. Everybody just went out there, played hard and accepted their role. We worked hard, we had each other's backs, and we had this saying called put the ball down. So no matter what happens, just put the ball down next play and go out there and make plays.
Okay, a key member there for the Gamecock defense, Nick Barrett. They need him to play big. He's got some big holes to fill, and they need him to step up and be the man, or one of the guys there in the middle of that defense. Of course, they've got a number of transfer guys as well, guys who've been at other schools who didn't really produce a whole lot, and now they're going to get their chance to produce at South Carolina. They're going to need those guys to do that, and that defensive line is going to be able to stand up and hold that front against some of these really big offensive lines they're going to be facing across the SEC this season. Okay, let's hit the recruiting report, and then we're going to hit a break, and then Garrett Riley, who met with the media yesterday up at Clemson. Get a little Clemson flavor in here as well from the offensive standpoint. We'll hear from him. So the recruiting report here on Sports Talk, as always, is brought to you by our good friends at Seawell's Food Caterers in Columbia. And Plummer, no buffet tomorrow and no buffet Friday, correct?
That is false. No buffet tomorrow, correct on that. They are open on Friday. Sesame and orange chicken with fried rice and vegetable lo mein, southern fried chicken, sliced beef brisket, and baked flounder fillets.
Very good. All right, so closed tomorrow but open on Friday. So you got a chance to get out there on Friday and enjoy a delicious daily luncheon buffet from Seawell's. Make sure you take it in on Friday, if not Friday, sometime next week. And we always recommend Seawell's for all your catering needs. They are the best in the business. They'll come to your location, or they can host your event at their beautiful location on Rosewood Drive. For more information, give them a call at 803-771-7385, online at SeawellsCateringSC.com. So if you're just joining us, South Carolina gets the commitment from Kamari Blair, 6'6", out of Clarksville, Tennessee. Commitment number 11, third on the offensive line. Tomorrow, wide receiver Samarian Wingo of St. Augustine, Florida, will make his announcement. South Carolina, Miami, and Florida, the finalists. That will take place at 2 o'clock. And, of course, on Friday, it'll be Landon Duckworth. 2028 shortstop Cam Jackson of Georgia Premier Academy, decommitted from the South Carolina. That's a 28. That should be 26. 2026 shortstop Cam Jackson, Georgia Premier Academy, decommitted from the USC commitment list for 2026. Two USC signees are headed to the pros. Catcher Noah Franklin, 17th round pick of the Rangers, he's going to sign, and 17th round pick of the Brewers, right-hander Luke Roop of North Myrtle Beach. Palmineri said today that he's going to sign, so they lose those two signees. Forward Reggie Hill transferring to Coastal Carolina after spending the last 2 seasons at Midwestern State. Played at Northwestern State the previous year. He began his career at Eastern Florida State College. Bergie, we expect you to have all that memorized when you described Mr. Reggie Hill for the Chanticleers. So he has 1 season left. He averaged about 8 points and 7 rebounds per game last season for the Midwestern State team. Bergie, can you name the mascot of the Midwestern State team?
This is a junior college, correct?
No. I think that's a
no?
Yeah. I think it's maybe a lower level, bigger school.
The Blazers.
It's close. The Mustangs.
Okay. Gosh, you don't see many college teams go Mustangs. I mean, that's an easy guess at the high school level, but not at the collegiate level. Interesting.
So when you're doing your play-by-play and Reggie Hill comes down and throws down a thunderous dunk, you can say, Reggie Hill, of course, here at Coastal Carolina previously at Midwestern State, Northwestern State, Eastern Florida State. So you can spit all that out
directions
in describing him. He went to about as many schools as Smitty did. Hello. No response, Smitty? I'm waiting on a response. No, he's just shaking his head.
Yeah, he's just done.
On task. You've tasked me with a few things. I'm taking care of those things.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. All right. Let's run to the break, and we're going to hear from Garrett Riley on the other side as we continue with our coverage of Clemson's big media day from yesterday. Let you hear what he had to say about this year's Clemson offense, which is projected to be spectacular. Still got to figure out their running back situation, though. Dabo Swinney will tell you Adam Randall's ready to be the next Walter Payton. They do feel good about him, but is that really going to be good enough for them at the running back position, or will it be somebody else? More on that coming up. We're with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, let's say I'm out in the woods or I'm on the water and I need to reach a DNR agent. How do I do that?
Operation Game Thief, Phil. It's been around 30-plus years. You can call us at our 24-hour hotline any time of day, 1-800-922-5431. To report wildlife violations or to get help if you're in trouble in the woods or on the water, call us at Operation Game Thief, 1-800-922-5431.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I'm not a case manager. I'm a lawyer for over 35 years. I don't charge 40% for your injury in your wreck case or any on-the-job injury. Call 803-765-2968 and ask for Jim Corbett, or email me, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com, for the experience of a lawyer handling your injury case. Jim Corbett, 803-765-2968. jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. Put 35 years of experience to work on your injury case.
Hi, this is Major Billy Downer, and coming up tonight at 7:30, it's another edition of SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources on the Sports Talk Media Network.
How will I know him when I look in my father's eyes? My father's eyes.
Okay, back we are here on Sports Talk at the College Hall of Fame, where I am set up. I'm in an area called the Region's Greatest Moments Theater, and they've got a television screen in front of me, a big screen. It just constantly plays the same highlights over and over again. I've seen Deshaun Watson's touchdown pass, the national championship game, at least 50 times over the last couple of nights as I've been sitting here. And I've seen the Cal-Stanford kickoff return an equal number of times. You know, the thing about, we talked about instant replay, and instant replay, had we had it like, going back 40 or 50 years, how many great moments would have been wiped out? That would have been one of them. Don't you think instant replay would have wiped out that kickoff return in the Cal-Stanford game?
The band is on the field. What would they have gotten? Illegal participation?
Yeah, they'd have gotten something. I'm sure they'd have gotten something.
Who's the left guard that's behind you on the wall directly over your left shoulder?
Number 74?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I don't know.
We know him as his left guard. That's
He's
all we
a big
can see.
fellow. Yeah, he's a big fellow. I'll have to look and see. I'll look during this interview. Why don't you lead us into Garrett Riley of the Clemson Tigers, the offensive coordinator?
Well, in advance of next week's ACC Media Days, Clemson yesterday on campus inside their football operations building, of course, had the Clemson Media Outing. We heard from Dabo, at least a small sort of tip of the iceberg portion of his 55-minute talk with the media yesterday. Garrett Riley didn't spend quite as much, but did hit around 30 minutes. We've got a little bit of it from the offensive coordinator of the Tigers, and if you're curious as to whether or not Ian Shefflin is a legitimate target for them, Garrett Riley's about to tell you.
I'm excited to be around him. We haven't been able to do much with him this summer. I'm just trying to hear from the other guys what they think about him and all that. But it sounds like he's picking some things up and know he can be an asset. So I'm excited to have a guy like that for sure.
What is it about his skill set, his mentality that translates well to football?
I just think the way he played basketball, right? Kind of gritty. Obviously, he's big. He's huge for our sport. Saw some of his high school tape and things that he did in high school. So, some things aren't going to be totally foreign to him or new to him. yeah, I'm excited to kind of really see it with my own eyes.
Playing football at this level is hard. What's realistic for Ian Sheffield? I mean, is it realistic that he can be impactful?
Oh yeah, I think for sure. I mean, there's a handful of guys I can think about right now in the last 5-10 years or so that have kind of had a similar story. Played basketball and went and played football for a year, and caught balls or sacked the quarterback or whatever it is. Playing tight end, defensive end is what you typically see them play. So I think, how much, a lot of it's just going to be what he can handle, and what makes sense for us, because we got a lot of other good players around him. So that'll be the fun part for us as coaches.
Where can this offense go with a 4-year quarterback leading
I think the sky's the limit. That's what we're preaching to our guys. Is I just think there's so much more there. For him, for us offensively, and for our team, there's just so much there, and there's still so much room for growth. So that's what's exciting. So that's what these guys are chasing. They're chasing that.
Coach, with some time removed from last season, what have you seen as maybe the strength of that offense last year? Where did you see that? Okay, we can maybe grow in this area this year.
Every team's different. I know we're returning a lot of guys, but you got some new pieces and some critical places where there's some opportunity for some different people. So, it's always a different team, even though you're returning a bunch of faces that have played a lot of snaps together. But I think in different parts of the season, there were some different strengths a year ago. And so I think now kind of understanding what our identity is a little bit earlier, figuring out some of these new pieces, like I mentioned, with the opportunity that they're going to have, I think that's going to be the critical thing to kind of identify early.
History says freshman running backs can have some success. What are you going to see from Gideon, and what can he do for this team this year?
Yeah, those guys, big opportunity in that room. From what I've seen with Gideon in the spring, I thought he had a really, really good spring. I think it's a freshman that's learning everything from a mental standpoint of handling what we require from that position. But skill set wise, his demeanor, his presence, I think I've said this before, he's just a kid that's not really fazed by much. I think you can really coach him, and I think he really listens and wants to learn, wants to be really, really good. So he's got a lot of the intangibles on top of his skill set that we love. But the intangible part was what sticks out to me thinking about his spring.
Which everybody knows the level of production that you have coming back at wide receiver this season. But guys like Tyler Brown and Cole Turner, guys who have battled injuries, but have shown glimpses of greatness. What can we expect of them to contribute this season?
Yeah, that's how we want this room. We want a deep room where you can rotate guys. It's a long season. And, that's my background. That's what I came from offensively, just what I got brought up in is you have 6-8 guys that play a lot, and you rotate them a lot. And what that does is it allows you to be fresh more throughout the game so that you're strong in the fourth quarter when it really counts to finish. And then from a big picture standpoint of being fresh as much as you can throughout the season. And so that's what we have a chance to do with that group. And that's definitely my expectation with that group. So excited about all those guys. I think it could be a really deep room, where we can have depth that we truly trust, and a bunch of dependable guys that can win some one-on-one matchups or be in the right spots, make plays. So that's the expectation from that room for sure.
How much does your relationship with Cade off the field, just about Cade the human, help with your relationship with him?
I think it's huge. Obviously that dynamic and that relationship is one of the more dynamic relationships in sports, I would say. And so, yeah, we have a great relationship. I think just the trust level and being comfortable when I have to get after them or correct them, critique them, coach them. All those things. I just think it helps build the trust factor. And so anyway, I think we got a strong relationship, and I think he's at a point where he kind of knows what I'm about to say before I even say it, right? That's kind of where we're at now.
Talk about his growth from his sophomore year to his junior year. It's pretty significant. How much more room is there to keep taking strides? Are they giant strides now, or are they just smaller?
No, I mean, I think there's still a big area of growth. I really do. And I think he knows that. And again, that's what we're all chasing. That's what he's chasing. And, I just think the sky's the limit for that kid. I really do. And so I think there's a lot of room for improvement for sure.
Okay, there you go. Comments from up at Clemson. Garrett Riley going into what will be his third year as the offensive coordinator at Clemson. Didn't have such a good first year. And, of course, that kind of correlates with your quarterback. As your quarterback gets better, your offensive coordinator gets better, does he not? And he was better last year, and he's expecting to be even better this year. There aren't many weaknesses, I don't think, on that Clemson offense, with the exception of that running back situation. Though, don't tell Lane Kiffin that Clemson is a college football playoff team. Did you see his comments that he made, where he basically he was taking a shot. Well, he wasn't basically. He was taking a shot at Clemson, citing their schedule and playing in the ACC. He does not believe that you should have automatic qualifiers from league champions. He just wants 16 teams picked with you get nothing for winning your conference championship. Just 16 teams. Whoever thinks the best 16 teams are, that's who he wants picked. But in particular, guys, Berge, he cited Clemson, didn't think Clemson deserved to be in the playoffs last year.
And didn't he say that he had a coach tell him that they would rather play Clemson than their SEC schedule? Well, if that's indeed the case, that's only 2 SEC coaches that got to play the Tigers last year until the playoffs, and that'd be Kirby Smart and Shane Beamer. I'm pretty sure Shane Beamer would never say that. Would Kirby Smart have told Lane Kiffin, I'd rather have Clemson on my schedule than you guys?
Well, listen, it's hard for Clemson to make any argument last year because they went 0-3
right
against the SEC, so hard to make that argument. But I don't know that I want to see championships watered down such that you're not rewarded with something for winning your conference championship.
I agree. I think there should be some value to get into if you're good enough to win your league, you should have an opportunity to play for a national championship. That's basically Lane Kiffin just parroting what his commissioner has said for years, that we should get the entire playoffs, if Greg Sankey had his way, would be 16 SEC teams.
Hey, one quick correction. For me, one quick correction. Dwayne McLemore from the state corrected me, pointed out that Noah Clark committed on July 2nd. So the last one prior to this one for South Carolina was July 2nd, not June 27th. I stand corrected. I was on a boat that day, so I really wasn't keeping up with the dates. Thank you, Smitty. And we'll be back with SC Wild in a moment.
Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
Here's tonight's forecast. We are warm and muggy this evening, a low temperature dipping down to 76. Tomorrow warmer, 94 the high to go with partly cloudy skies, a 20% chance we get afternoon storms. Looking to the weekend, not bad at all. Hot with 96 the high on Saturday and Sunday and a blend of sunshine and clouds to enjoy. I'm Cal Moss with your On Point local weather.
At Palmetto State Armory, we offer the largest selection of guns and ammunition at unbeatable prices. Our knowledgeable and friendly staff are here to provide personalized assistance, ensuring you find exactly what you need. If you enjoy outdoor activities like hunting, camping, or hiking, our clothing and outdoor gear collection has got you covered. We also feature an exceptional indoor range facility where you can experience the thrill of shooting in a safe and controlled environment. Visit us today at PalmettoStateArmory.com or your local retail store. Palmetto State Armory, American made for life.
Area. With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A tropical weather system near the Florida Panhandle is showing a moderate chance of becoming a tropical depression. The National Hurricane Center said Wednesday that the system could impact southeastern Louisiana, Alabama, and Mississippi. Heavy rain is expected, with New Orleans bracing for up to 10 inches in some areas through Saturday. Flooding remains a major concern regardless of storm development. Communities along a 700-mile stretch of Alaska's southern coast ordered their residents to higher ground after a powerful earthquake, but officials quickly downgraded a tsunami warning in the area. There were no immediate reports of damage. On Wall Street, the Dow by 231 points, the Nasdaq rose 52. More details at srnnews.com.
America's radio show with Gene Garris every Sunday night from 6 till 8. Local, live, somewhat punishing, but only on the point.
When your pipes panic, Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning steps right in, fast and friendly. Josh and his team aren't just fixing leaks, they're restoring your peace of mind. This is when you're at your most vulnerable. You got a problem, you need a solution. They're not coming out to upsell you or talk you into something new this or new that. You'll appreciate their process. They'll tell you what needs to get done and what it'll cost before they ever even bring in their tools to start the work. They're locally owned, which unfortunately is no longer the norm in the Midlands. Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning will treat every home like their own. They've done work for me, for my brother, countless numbers of Point listeners. Dial 799-2222 or visit franklinplumbing.sc.com and you tell them Kev from The Point sent you. You will experience plumbing that's more than just a fix. It's a solution from people who care about their work and stand by it. When you need them, please don't panic. Just call Franklin Plumbing and Drain Cleaning, 799-2222.
It's painting season in the Midlands, and Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovation sets the tone for inspired living. Watch your home change from ordinary to outstanding with colors that liven every wall and craftsmanship you can trust. Michael and his team are fully licensed, bonded, and insured. They care for every detail inside and out of your home. Let's give your home the style and care it deserves. Call 922-5615. Southern Palmetto Painting and Renovations, where every project reflects pride.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hello, this is Stacy Huff, host of Huff Nation Sports Zone, each and every Saturday, 10 to 11 a.m. right here on 100.7 FM, The Point, and also 1470 a.m. It'll be a fun trip around the world of sports. Huff Nation Sports Zone, check it out.
This is Fran Halloran, the Money Coach. Grow with The Point as we build on 10 incredible years of community local radio. We built an environment where our listeners are our family. Are you a small business with big dreams? Join the tremendous stable of advertising partners at The Point. Connect with Kevin Cohen and brainstorm a tailored strategy to escalate your business growth using the powerful platform of The Point. Call Kev directly at 563-8558. Teaming with The Point, you can make the next year your best year.
It's SC Wild with Major Billy Downer from the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer is here to answer your questions about the great outdoors. Call in now at 888-898-2525 and join SC Wild on the Sports Talk Media Network.
Despite all this football talk, despite SEC Media Day going on, despite everything else, there's always time and room and place for SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources here on Sports Talk, because there's always important stuff happening in the great outdoors of South Carolina. We welcome in Major Billy Downer to SC Wild from the Department of Natural Resources once again. And he's got a special guest standing by that he'll be getting to in just a moment. Major, great to have you back with us. Hope you're doing well.
You're doing well. Thank you for having me on the show once again. Another episode of SC Wild with me and my favorite man, Phil Cormley.
Well, I appreciate that, and we always love having you on to talk about things outside. Before you get to your guests, I was away last time on vacation, and my vacation took me to the great state of Alaska.
All right. Been there twice. Great
You've
state.
been there twice. I was going to ask you about your opportunities to be in the great outdoors of Alaska. I went to Juneau, and I went to, went to Juneau, went up to Victoria, British Columbia, and went to Skagway.
Did you spend any time in Anchorage? around
Did not
that
go to
area?
Anchorage. No, we stayed along the coast.
Really?
This was a cruise thing. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on. I mean, you talk about outdoors. They definitely have big time outdoor stuff in Alaska,
and they have big time animals. When I landed in Anchorage the first time for a conference, they had a renegade bear that had already mauled 4 people.
Oh my gosh!
When I say mauled, I mean mauled and killed, I think 4 people. And that was in the city limits of Anchorage. And you can speak for this, Phil, being in Alaska. It is such a wild place. The parks in the city are like being out 100 miles from a city in South Carolina, just within the city limits.
Yeah.
So the city limits of Anchorage is not just a lot of buildings. It's also some parks and things that meander in, and national parks, state parks that meander in there, and they have big moose downtown, grizzly bears, brown bears is their biggest animal, of course, but grizzly bears as well, and black bears. So just interesting, different environment. When you go in the woods there, you've got to be literally your head's on a swivel for more than one reason.
Absolutely. One thing I did not see, we did not see any bears, and we went up into the mountains. We went up and went to a camp where they had sled dogs. And they were pulling, obviously this wasn't on snow, but they have these, I guess you call them kind of sled-type mobiles on wheels, and the dogs pull them. Had a full team of 16 huskies and met the mushers and all that kind of stuff. So we experienced that. Went and saw whales, saw big old whales, saw one of them that was breaching and getting you a chance to see his whole body get out of the water and spin and do that whole thing. So those are kind of the highlight things for me from the outdoors. But what a beautiful part of the country. The mountains everywhere, the fjords, the water coming off the glaciers. Then I saw Mount Rainier over
beautiful
near
blue water. You see some of that beautiful blue glacier water. Just
yeah, cool. I mean it's you know. If you love the outdoors, how can you not love going to Alaska and spending some time out there?
Absolutely. We're going to go from the cold climate of Alaska back to the very humid beaches of South Carolina as we prepare for Shark Week on the Discovery Channel. It's that episode again.
Oh boy.
We're going to have Shark Week, and we've got with us one of our biologists with us here tonight from the Marine Center. And I'm glad to have Brian Frazier with us. Brian, thanks for joining us on the show tonight. I've promised his boss that we're going to protect us from crazy questions for the most part, but we're going to hit some of the things. I think Brian joined us last year talking about sharks, and this time of year people get really interested because it's on Discovery, and there are ads running constantly about Shark Week, and we do have Brian's here. We have 20 shark species that inhabit our waters. Is that correct, Brian?
Yeah, we got more than that are rare. We got some species that come through occasionally, but we've got probably if you're right along the coast, anywhere from 17 to 20 that can be seen with some sort of regularity. Yep.
And the big names that everybody wants to know, we have bull sharks, yes. We have tiger sharks, yes. Yep. And we have great whites once in a while. Is that correct?
We got more great whites than you'd think, but they're down here in our waters when people aren't really in our waters, except for those Canadians that love to go swimming in January and February. Most of the people are out of the water, but we're finding out we got more and more white sharks that are hanging around our coast every year.
And I remember when they did the tagging, and everybody was online watching what was her name? I can't remember, that big 20-footer.
Oh, Mary Lee.
Mary Lee. Everybody, my daughter was infatuated watching Mary Lee. Dad, she's 100 yards, 200 yards off of Buford. I said, yeah. Don't go out there.
Oh, yeah.
So,
she loves hanging right along the South Carolina coast for sure.
Absolutely. And of course, we have hammerheads, correct?
Yep. We got great hammerheads. We got scalloped hammerheads and Carolina hammerheads too, and then we got the little bitty bonnet heads. So we got a lot of them.
All right, so let's get into what people want to know the most. They got lots of teeth. We understand that. They are perfect hunting machines. They've been designed that way. They're great. But when it comes to shark attacks or shark bites, let's go shark bites instead of attacks. In South Carolina, typically, Brian, what is it, like 4 a year average?
4 a year average, and really, we I don't think we've even hit 4 the last couple of years. Last year, we only officially had 2. Right. And this year we have 2 so far.
Okay. And typically, for folks that are wondering, those bites aren't great white bites. They are typically mostly, if I remember right, they're black tips. Is that correct?
Yep. Black tips and fine tooth sharks. Those are the ones that are most likely to be in that surf zone, heavily feeding. Those guys feed on menhaden and mullet, those species that tend to also like that surf zone. So you get some times where they make a mistake and get the wrong item, and that usually causes big hot headlines. But fortunately, the injuries that we tend to see are more on the level of stitches, not life-threatening bites, but
nobody wants to get bit by a shark. We understand that.
Yep,
but nobody
it's traumatic.
Wants to get bit by a shark. Absolutely. So
it is traumatic, no doubt. Yeah.
All right. So black tips are on the length size chart of a shark, or what, 6.5 feet at the most?
Yeah, 6.5 feet maximum size.
All right.
Yep,
so
but they're certainly big enough that if they get you, it's going to hurt for sure. They've got really sharp teeth, and they'll do, just with one bite, they'll do some damage for sure.
Absolutely. And then there's the cookie cutter shark. Isn't that correct? We have those as well?
We don't tend to see those, and we don't really see evidence. There's a lot more evidence of those in the Pacific than there is in the Atlantic. If they are, they're pretty rare. We've never had a recorded bite from them along the Atlantic coast, but
those
they do get them, especially.
Out.
Yeah, they've gotten them in some long distance swimmers out in Hawaii, things like that, but not here along our coast.
All right. So when it comes to big sharks on our coast, from my knowledge, I know tigers, bull sharks. Is that pretty much correct, or is there another species? Of course, white shark.
Well, the great hammerheads of those, the great hammerheads have the capacity to get the longest. Great hammerheads can get up to 16 feet, and yeah, we've got tigers that'll get up to 14 feet, and bull sharks. People worry about those a lot. They can get to 8 feet, but we don't tend to see many bites from those guys. And then we got lemon sharks, which a lot of people confuse with bull sharks, especially up the rivers. When you hear about sharks hanging around fish cleaning stations and stuff like that, a lot of times those are lemon sharks. And they don't tend to get implicated in shark bites, but they can get pretty big. They can get up to 8, 9, 10 feet.
All right, so a lemon shark, can they go into fresh water as well, or brackish water?
Nope. They tend to be higher salinity. Bull sharks are the only ones that you tend to see in purely fresh water. Some of the other species can creep up into some, brackish water, but for the most part, bull sharks are the only ones you're going to find in fresh water.
I think that's a cool history item. I love history, and not necessarily Jaws history, but looking at all the hype about the Jaws movie from the 70s. And I remember that as a young person watching that movie, and this storyline coming from New Jersey and back in 1916, and just talking about where some of those attacks happened back then was up in actually river estuaries that were mostly fresh water. So there's a lot of belief it could have actually been a bull shark back then.
Yep, they have attributed the bites from that story to bull sharks. Yep, that is the prevailing theory.
And I know over time the history has been like a bull shark are the ones you find license plates in and weird things like that because they will bite just flashes and things like that.
No, that's tigers.
It's tigers. Okay,
tigers. Yeah, tigers are well known for being the the trash compactor of the sea. They found boots, license plates, all sorts of random things in there. In fact, from in the scene from Jaws when the license plate, fell out, that's true. They have absolutely found those. So those guys tend to eat it first and then find out if it's tasty later.
Not the best option if you're out there with a shark. But let's get back to reality in South Carolina. Shark movies are great. They sensationalize a lot of things, but they also to kind of tell a little bit of a one-sided story on sharks. In South Carolina, as we just mentioned, I want to review this real quick. Brian, you said this. In the last 2 years, actually, there's only been 2 bites. And then over our history, it's typically been no more than 4. And the sharks that are typically attributed to these mostly are sharks that are smaller and not really large. It's not your tigers. It's not your bull and not your great white. Not that they haven't had bites here and there. But talking about folks inland, one of the things I've always said, and you might want to add to this, is just if you're swimming, avoid swimming in the early morning hours and late evening hours when it's dusky. Don't wear jewelry on your hand because flashes like that can imitate the scales of a fish and could induce something to look at what that is. If you're bleeding, obviously, don't go in the water. Not a good idea if you've got a bad cut. If you're feeding, like you've talked about, if you're cleaning fish at a bait station, not a good idea to swim there. Or I always used to tell. I remember my dad told me don't swim near the pier. There's lots of reasons for that. Hooks are another good reason not to swim near the pier, but dead fish and things there or bait is probably a bad reason to swim around those areas. What other things would you advise, Brian?
Yeah, the big one is we can have times where you get big schools of bait along the coast, and that oftentimes they get pushed right up against the beach. And the reason they're pushed right up against the beach is there's things feeding on them, and those things are often sharks. So if you see a bunch of pelicans crashing and you see fish popping on the surface, it's not the best idea to be in the middle of that because there will be, sharks and other fish that are actively feeding on those schools. So if you see that, you might just want to get out of the water for a little bit, let the school pass, and then hop right back in.
Absolutely. And I know that I was in Hilton Head recently, and when you see like you said, the Menhaden schools feeding through, and they see the birds start diving, they throw the red flag out and get people out of the water, just as a precautionary measure. I know on the Hilton Head Beach area, and that's just something I hadn't been used to growing up in Garden City. We never had lifeguards that much, and just it was kind of swim on your own. So we didn't have that kind of oversight, if you will.
Yep, not a bad idea. Not a bit. It's one of those things. The likelihood is still very small, even if you're out there. But it doesn't hurt to add a little caution. I've had times where with my younger kid in the water, and I had a shark swim right in between us, a blacktip shark, and then I kind of passed it off as a one-off, and then about 5 minutes later, I had another shark swim right behind him, and I just said, let's go to the beach for a little while, buddy. I think we didn't panic or anything, but we just got out the water, and if you see all sorts of life, then there's going to be that predator life there as well. They're attracted to it, and just one of those common sense. No need to put yourself in that situation. It'll pass.
Absolutely. So let me turn to research for a minute. What kind of research are we doing on sharks in South Carolina?
Yeah, so we're doing a broad amount of research, everything from population monitoring. We've got several surveys that track the abundance of sharks through time. We started sampling for them in the early 90s. And then we have things that are related to fisheries. One of the things we've been studying recently is post-release mortality. When sharks are captured on a hook and line or in a gill net or on a long line, a lot of times they're released. But even if we have the best intentions and we release those animals, some portion of those die. So we've been trying to study that just to get a better handle of, the effects that our fisheries could be having on populations. And then we do some telemetry work as well, tracking those sharks and seeing what habitats are the most important for them. We've done some work on tiger sharks, more recently on blacktip sharks, spinner sharks, and Carolina hammerheads is one we've been really interested. We've only known that sharks existed for about 20 years. So we're really trying to find a lot more information about it, and what parts of South Carolina, and for that matter, the southeastern United States are the most important to them, because they are a more rare species than some of our other sharks.
So what is the difference in a Carolina hammerhead and a great hammerhead?
So Carolina hammerheads and great hammerheads, you can tell those apart pretty well. But scalloped hammerheads and Carolina hammerheads are almost identical to the eye. We do see some very minor differences, and we're working on how to actually tell them apart in the field with any certainty. But most people are going to look at them and say those are the same exact sharks. But if you look at the genetics of them, they're very distinct. They've been separated on the order of 5 million plus years, and they're as distinct as a bonnethead shark is from a great hammerhead shark.
Okay.
So we know there's something very different, and it's very perplexing that they would look exactly the same. But from the work that we've done, they don't appear to act the same. One is likely feeding either very far offshore or very deep in the ocean, and the other is very close to shore and perhaps more feeding on more pelagic type prey. So that's something we're really trying to tease out, just to give us the information we need to better manage these species.
So a hammerhead shark, of course, the distinctive head is what makes them different. But do they have a different sensory in that hammer area than other sharks?
They have the same, they have the same sensory system. It's called Ampullae lorenzini. But what they are, they're evolved to better detect animals that are buried under the sand. One of hammerhead's favorite preys are stingrays, and stingrays like to bury themselves under the sand. So those hammerheads can actually kind of sweep the seafloor and detect them buried under that sand, and then they'll go after them.
Which is a great thing for folks who don't like stepping on a stingray. So that's a great thing to remove more stingrays.
Yeah. I will absolutely tell you, I've been hit by a few stingray barbs, and I've been bitten by a few sharks, and I'll take the sharks every time.
Wow.
those stingray barbs hurt.
Wow, yes they do. Yes, very painful. What other interesting facts of sharks would you like to share from your knowledge and study of them that might be interesting to people that are listening that might not know about shark?
Well, one of the hottest topics right now amongst fishermen is something we call depredation. And you said it earlier, these sharks are highly evolved and they have a lot of senses. Sharks actually have 7 senses. And, when a fisherman catches a shark on a line, all those senses just start firing, and they are highly tuned to go after that fish. They see that fish as struggling, and a struggling fish is an easy meal. Right. So they're going to go after it. It's hardwired in their brains to go after them. So a lot of people are getting upset with sharks lately because they're having more interactions when people are fishing, and are getting aggravated with the sharks. But, in some regards, it's the sharks are just hardwired for it.
Yeah, and I heard the marlin tournament's that marlin tournament's one of the most recent ones in North Carolina, I think, where they had a marlin get hit by a shark. They brought it in. They wouldn't let them weigh it. That became a big deal.
Yep. Yes, it did. I believe it cost those anglers more than $1 million, and that's pretty unfortunate. Even with the shark bite out of it, I know there's some fair catch rules that go into it, and I understand the complexities of it, but it's unfortunate, when a marlin that big, gets taken and they don't even get to weigh it. But that's something for the rules committee.
So let me hit you. Yeah, I agree with you on that. Let me hit you. What are the 7 senses of a shark? That's interesting.
Yeah, so they have that ampullae of Lorenzini. They have they have sight, they have smell, they have electroreception. They've got a lateral line, so they can detect. They're just really tuned to feed in all different environments, right? So even in our murky waters, they can detect the electromagnetics of a fish. If they can detect a fish just beating its tail long before they see them and possibly smell them. So they're all those senses are working in unison to make them really efficient predators in a variety of environments. That's why pretty much if you're in salt water, it doesn't matter, if you're in 3,000 feet of water or, way up our estuaries in a couple feet of water, there's probably a shark around if you're in salt water. They've just really evolved to take advantage of a variety of habitats and all those senses kind of work in unison to make them efficient predators.
Absolutely. And so in that fact, I want to make a point. You've probably been fishing, been swimming in water where there's been sharks near you. And the testament is that no one's gotten bitten but twice a year. So it's kind of to me, it's kind of one of those statements you need to make. Look, yeah, you're in the ocean, there's sharks out there, no doubt about it. But they don't all come bite you like Jaws. They don't all come swallow you. They don't come grab your boat. They don't come grab a helicopter. They're out there trying to swim, trying to fish for their food. And there's things you can do to be safe and interact in the same environment and leave without any negative interaction.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing I really try to convey to people is we're not on the menu. If you think about how many people are in the water every day of the summer and how many sharks are out there, if sharks did see us as a food source, well, I wouldn't be swimming along the beach, I'll tell you that. But we're fortunate that they don't. They're just not, they just didn't evolve with us as a prey source. And when we're out there making our, splashing around, they don't really see those cues as a prey source.
Well, hey, thanks for joining us tonight. Lots of good information. And for those folks, next few weeks, be safe out there on the water.
Thank you,
absolutely.
Major.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, Major. Thank you, Brian. Nothing you said has encouraged me to want to dive into the water after hearing all that. We appreciate it nonetheless. Have a great night. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.